I got a phone call quite early in the morning. I forget whether it was Toledo Blade or the radio station. But they said, could you tell us about the sea lion in your boathouse? Well, we didn't have any boathouse. And I said, oh, it's probably up the street. So I went up and they told me then to let them know, you know, what I found. Went up there and there he was in this boathouse right here. He was awake, but he wasn't real effervescent or moving around too much, you know, he was kind of laying there.
The boathouse was less than 300 yards from the site of the chase. The tranquilizers had worked. Bob Traver, chief of detectives for the Sandusky Police Department, contacted the Toledo Zoo. Keep the area quiet until we get there, the zoo told him. We don't want to get him excited again. We'll obey the instructions, Traver replied, but frankly, we wouldn't mind if he woke up and got back in the water where he's happy.
They actually put a ban on any noise making in that whole area. Nobody could run heavy machinery, kept cars out of about a 2-block radius, determined that this sea lion must stay asleep. Phil Skeldon shows up, ready to come and get this poor critter, moves up on him, and Slippery did wake up in time, rear up, bite Skeldon's hand, dive into the water, and get out of the boathouse. He was out there for about another 2 minutes, I believe is the take on it, and then came back in. During those 2 minutes that he decides, I've been on the lam for 9 days, the Maumee River peters out into nothing, I'm never going to make it back home anyway, but I'll be damned if I'm going to let these people take me against my will. So it's during those 2 minutes that he decides he will give himself up. He will come back, but it will be his choice.
False. Never got bit. I've worked with snakes too long. I don't want to get bit. And no, I was not bitten. So that story, I don't know where that's a made-up story.
What about swimming out of the boathouse?
No. He was there on the dock. We went up, got our stuff out of the truck, went in and put the noose around his neck and put him into the cage.
I just remember him being here on the raft. And I remember them putting the net over and picking him up that way.
You were quoted as saying that the sea lion bolted from Skeldon and swam out into the bay.
Well, it might be, but that's been, what, 37 years ago? I don't remember it anymore, really.
There may be some controversy about what happened in this boathouse on that morning, but perhaps it doesn't matter. The end result was the same for Slippery. London was thrilled. A van was custom painted and officials raced off to Ohio to reclaim Slippery. A Free Press reporter and photographer followed, bearing the $200 reward. But on the road home to Toledo, Phil Skeldon was developing his own ideas about Slippery's value, and it was much more than $200.
I understand there's an old English law which states that once a wild animal escapes, it becomes the property of anyone who captures it. We captured Slippery in our jurisdiction, so I feel he belongs to us. Phil Skeldon.
On both sides of the border, all hell broke loose.
If the Toledo people don't do the decent thing and give Cyril back, well, they're not gentlemen, and that's all I can say. Vern McKillop, PUC General Manager.
If I'd known Toledo wouldn't return the seal to London, I would have called Cleveland. Bob Traver, Chief of Detectives, Sandusky Police.
They were too lazy to come and look for him. They don't deserve him. Phil Skeldon.
All right for you, Phil Skeldon, but just be mighty careful we don't catch Elvis Presley swimming in Pike Creek. Windsor Daily Star.
Arguments raged in London and Toledo. Was Slippery an illegal alien? Was he an American citizen? An Ohio Bar Association, an assistant U.S. attorney, and a county prosecutor, all citing legal precedents, backed Skeldon's claim. To be safe, Toledo placed a guard on Slippery.
It reached such a point that some of the very prominent persons in our community in Toledo called me and said, Martin, please don't keep talking about keeping the seal. Let them know you're going to return it, because you're going to create a situation here between America and Canada which can really disrupt our natural personal relationship.
In Ottawa, the External Affairs Department said the government would try to find out if Canada's extradition treaty with the United States included sea lions. In London, residents fired off a petition asking for Slippery's return. Ironically, the American ambassador had visited Storybook Gardens just a few days earlier.
If they don't give it back, I'll get my secretary and a few others, and we'll picket the U.S. Embassy. Just because they are bigger than we are doesn't mean they can keep our sea lion. Ernest Halpenny, Member of Parliament for London.
Just by coincidence, there was American warships coming through the Great Lakes. And this is when the tensions were getting high in the press about this war between the Americans and the Canadians. And the talk of sending in the warships seemed a little absurd, but that made a darn good story.
Meanwhile, the mayor of Toledo received a telegram from a